Fatherhood is incredible. It's amazing. The feeling that you have when you hold your baby for the first time, when you're teaching them, you dedicate your life to protecting and providing for this child. But it always feels like something's in the background, just lurking in the midst of you having good times and bad times, like something's behind everything, trying to pull away that joy that comes from being a father. Let's investigate that. So today we're going to knock down the things that we need to stop doing. The world calls them red flags, but I'm telling you things that we need to stop doing as men. I'm going to talk about 3 things, and at the end of this video, I'm going to give you a solution. And it's a small but mighty solution to these 3 issues. Issue number 1 is the fact that there is a cloud over every activity, every gathering, every time we eat as a family at the table. There's this feeling that we're going to fail our children like our fathers failed us. If you're like me and you didn't grow up with your biological father, there's this looming fear, this feeling always in the back, talking in your ear, that you might end up like him. Why? Because you don't really know what to do. You're gathering books, you're reading things, you're listening to sermons, you're getting advice from other men, and you're trying these things out for the first time because it never was done to you properly. So you're trying. So in the background of every time you try, there's a sense of this might fail and you're going to drop the ball like your father dropped the ball. One of the other things that you might be struggling with as a man is the thought process that if you are doing the right things, are you doing the right thingsly enough? Are you doing the right things correctly? Are you doing the right things in a perfect way so God can do what he needs to do? Are you reading the Bible in the correct way? Are you using the right devotionals, the right books? Do you have the right eschatology, the right soteriology, do you know the covenant household? Do you know not the covenant household? Do you know all these things that the people that we grab from because you didn't have that stable home in your life? You grabbing as much as you possibly can. So you wonder, are you doing that even correctly? Are you, even the efforts that you make, is that a correct way of doing that effort? And you compare yourself to, is my household gonna be as strong as Vody Bachum's or Douglas Wilson, or even a guy down the street? He seemed like have a household. Even a person at church, that father that seems to have it all together. Am I doing it correctly? And am I doing family devotionals correctly? Am I doing family dinner correctly? Am I doing these things correctly? And it's always a fear that if you don't get it just right, it's all going to fall apart. And number 3, can God multiply what I do? There's always a sense of, and the church has a problem bringing the sense of that every bad thing that you do, your children are going to take off and multiply and do that more. So if you struggle with anger, your son will be more angry than you are. If you struggle, but they never talk about the positive side of, well, what happens if my child sees me pray? Are they going to pray more? What happens if this child sees me read? Are they going to read more? It's always leaning on the sin portion. Your child will do more of your sin than they do more of the righteous things that you do. And I said all that to say, it brings a weird mindset to us as men about what God will multiply. Is God faithful to multiply my little bit? What I bring to the table? Is he gonna take? Is he gonna take all the stuff that I poured into my children? And is it gonna be what the next generation of believers? Is he going? And I'm saying it plainly. What if all the things that you do, your children don't believe anymore after you? See, because you broke the mold, right? You're a cycle breaker. You broke the mold. You are a believer. You are a father. You are a husband when your father was not. You broke that. And there's a looming fear that happens a lot where what if that only happens for this generation? What if I'm the only Christian in our life and my son decides to be a heathen and my daughter decides to be heathens and decides to rebel against God and decides to do, even though you do all the things you know was right to do, what if it don't work out? What if God isn't faithful? And that brings me to the last point. I told you it's a small thing, but it has great benefits. The Bible talks about us having faith the size of a mustard seed. And if you ever saw a mustard seed before, you know that it's a small seed. It is, I think, one of the smallest seeds, but it grows up to be an amazing tree, the scripture says. He says, if you have that faith as small as a mustard seed, we could tell this mountain to move and it will move. This is a solution to all those fears. We need to battle fear with faith. And it only takes a little bit of faith that the things that we're going to do, God is going to multiply, like the fish and the loaves. The little lunch, the little 5 loaves and 2 fish multiplied to feed thousands and thousands of people, and they had leftovers. We need to believe as men. You need to believe as a father, as a husband, that the little things that we do, the Bible studies, the talking to your son about God, talking to your daughters about the Lord, you kissing your wife, you're trying to manage the household well, you're doing your very best, that God is going to multiply that. You need to believe that. You need to put faith in the Lord that He is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. He will multiply your little. Why? Because he done more with less things. He has done more with less. I need you, men, to understand. I need you, hero, to understand that little bit of faith, it only takes a little bit, and it's going to continue to grow as you lead your families. As you keep on leading your families, believe that you're doing it for a purpose. You're aiming them to God, and God is not going to let his word come back void. You're doing the right thing, and I need you to continue to believe that. That's what combats all those red flags, all those fears, all those that lurking behind you. That's what combats it. Faith that what you are doing, God is going to multiply. God is going to add to. God is going to be faithful and just to see those things through, because you are in the best of your ability trying to honor him. You're trying to learn, you're reading your word, you're praying, you're trying to lead, you're doing these things, and God will multiply your efforts. God will multiply your efforts. Look, you don't have to be afraid of failure, afraid of being like your father, afraid. God has already washed that. Let go of that past. What you need to do is forget about the past, like Paul says, and press towards the mark of the high calling. That means you continue to do what you know is right. You continue to do those things that you know is beneficial to your families, and God will take care of the rest. You can rest in him with that little bit of faith, in a little bit of faith that God is faithful to his promises. That little bit of belief will change everything. It's amazing what God can do with a little bit of faith.